The door was rigged to blow. He was 5 seconds from turning the handle. She wasn't supposed to be in that hallway. She wasn't supposed to know, but she grabbed his wrist anyway. In that frozen moment, a Korean mafia boss and a black maid held the future of a soul crime empire in their locked grasp. He is Min-jun, a kingpin whose empire is built on silent threats. She is Anya, a woman from Ghana whose presence in this mansion is a mystery wrapped in a uniform. To understand why she stopped that explosion, you have to understand the first rule of Seoul's underworld. The most dangerous weapon isn't a gun. It's the person everyone forgets to see. And Anya saw everything. She knew the bomb was there. She knew who ordered it. The question is, why would she save the man who owned the very hallway she was supposed to just clean? 4 months before that hallway confrontation, Anya Boateng arrived at Incheon International Airport with a single suitcase and a temporary caregiver visa. She was 28, from Accra, Ghana, and her paperwork stated she was hired to care for Min-jun's elderly mother, Madame Kang, who lived in the east wing of the Gangnam mansion after a stroke. The agency profile listed Anya's qualifications: certified nursing assistant, fluent in English and French, experience with post-stroke recovery. It did not list her real qualification: a 4-year degree in forensic accounting from the University of Ghana and 2 years working for her uncle's private investigation firm, tracing hidden assets for divorce cases. She took the caregiver job for one reason. Her younger sister, Effia, had vanished in Seoul 6 months earlier while working as a hostess in a club called the Jade Room. The last text Effia sent was a photo of a man's hand wearing a distinctive jade ring resting on a table stacked with one. The message read, "He says he owns the police. I believe him, coming home next week." She never came home. The Ghanaian consulate was sympathetic but powerless. The Seoul police closed the missing person case in 30 days. The man with the jade ring was Kang Min-jun. Anya's first week in the mansion was a study in controlled silence. The house was a fortress of marble and reinforced glass, spanning 3 floors in the most exclusive district of Seoul. Security cameras covered every angle except, she noted, the service corridors and the old mother's wing. The staff were a mixture of longtime Korean retainers and temporary migrant workers, all moving through the halls with averted eyes. Min-jun was a ghost in his own home, appearing occasionally with a retinue of sharply dressed men, his presence announced by the scent of expensive cologne and the low vibration of tense silence that followed him. He was 39, the head of Kang Holdings, a conglomerate with interests in construction, entertainment, and import-export. Public records showed a successful, if reclusive, businessman. The private server Anya accessed through a forgotten Wi-Fi bridge in the servants' quarters told a different story: encrypted messages about territory disputes, shipment delays, and payments to officials. The jade ring was in a locked display case in his study. Her sister's photo was in her uniform pocket. Madame Kang was not what Anya expected. Paralyzed on her right side, sharp-eyed and bitterly lucid. She was 72, the widow of the previous gang boss, a man who had built the organization before a convenient car accident transferred power to his son. She communicated in clipped phrases and watched Korean news channels incessantly. On Anya's 3rd day, while helping her with afternoon tea, Madame Kang gripped Anya's wrist with her functional left hand. Her eyes were clear and direct. "You are not a caregiver," she said in careful English. "Your hands are too steady, you watch doorways, you count steps. You are something else. Good, this house needs eyes that see." Then she released her grip and returned to her news broadcast as if nothing had happened. Anya understood. The old woman was a prisoner in silk sheets, and she had just been offered an alliance. The mansion operated on 2 levels. The surface level was Min-jun's world: board meetings, social functions, the performance of legitimate business. The subterranean level was run by his lieutenant, a man known only as Yi. Yi handled the organization's real currency, protection rackets, nightclub revenues, and a lucrative pharmaceutical distribution network that had recently attracted dangerous attention. A new syndicate, backed by Russian interests, was moving into Gangnam. They wanted a partnership. Min-jun refused. The refusal was delivered on a Monday. On Wednesday, Min-jun's favorite driver was found in the Han River with his throat cut. The message was clear. Min-jun's response was to tighten security. New men, strangers with military tattoos, appeared at the gates. The atmosphere in the mansion curdled into paranoia. Anya, invisible in her blue uniform, became a shadow archive. She noted the license plates of new cars. She memorized the faces of Yi's enforcers. She used her evening break to cross-reference names from overheard conversations with corporate registrations and police blotters on the dark web, using the skills she'd honed in her uncle's office. She was building a map of Minjun's empire, not to bring it down, but to find a single point of connection to her sister. She found it in the financials. A shell company called White Jade Holdings made monthly payments to a personnel agency that supplied hostesses to the Jade Room. The signatory on the accounts was Yi. Meanwhile, she performed her duties. She bathed Madame Kang, read to her, learned to make the bitter barley tea she preferred. A fragile trust grew in the silent afternoons. One Tuesday, Madame Kang pointed a trembling finger at the news. A reporter was discussing a fire at a rival gang's headquarters. "Minjun did not do this," the old woman whispered. "He is impulsive but not stupid. This is the work of a scared man. Yi is a scared man." She looked at Anya. "A scared man who is losing control will do two things. He will hide a treasure and he will plant a trap. Watch for both." The trap revealed itself 2 weeks later. Anya was cleaning the study during Minjun's absence. She saw it. A tiny, almost invisible fiber thread, thinner than a hair, stretched across the lower drawer of his desk. A pressure sensor. If the drawer was opened incorrectly, it would trigger something. She didn't touch it. She simply noted its existence and wiped the desk around it. The treasure was discovered the next night. Unable to sleep, Anya walked the service hallway. She heard voices from a supposedly disused smoking balcony. Yi and one of the new guards. "The old lady's suite is the only blind spot. The wiring runs through the wall there. It's clean. When he checks the device, it will be in the east wing. No connection to us," the guard murmured in Russian-accented Korean. "And the mother?" Yi's reply was a low chuckle. "Collateral damage. A tragic accident. It simplifies the inheritance." Anya stood frozen in the dark. The bomb wasn't just for Minjun. It was a coup. Yi was eliminating his boss and the last person with legitimate claim to the Kang fortune in one blast. The device was already in the East Wing. Her mind raced. Effie had worked for Yi. She had seen something, known something, and vanished. Now Anya was in the same house, hearing the same plans. She had two choices: let the bomb go off and let the man who might have killed her sister die. Or stop it and risk everything to get closer to the truth. She chose truth. The next afternoon, she altered her cleaning route. In the East Wing hallway, she saw the slightest discoloration in the ornate molding beside Madame Kang's door. A panel had been recently removed and replaced. The bomb was inside the wall, triggered to the study's sensor. Minjun was scheduled to return at 8 p.m. She had 3 hours. At 7:45, Minjun's black sedan pulled into the driveway. At 7:50, he strode through the main hall heading for his study. At 7:55, Anya saw Yi slip out a side entrance and get into a waiting car. He didn't plan to be in the building. At 7:58, Minjun left his study, his face dark with anger. The sensor had been tripped, but not by him. He was coming to check on the one place the alert was routed to, his mother's room. He turned the corner into the East Wing hallway. His hand reached for the ornate handle. And Anya, who had been waiting in the shadows of a linen alcove, who knew that opening that door would complete the circuit and kill them all, moved. The grip on his wrist was iron. For 3 seconds, Minjun didn't see a maid. He saw an assassin. His free hand was already moving toward the gun hidden beneath his jacket. Anya didn't flinch. She leaned closer, her voice a controlled whisper that cut through the tension. "The door is wired. Open it, and the explosive in the wall detonates. Yi set the trigger to your study sensor. He's not in the building." Minjun's eyes narrowed, processing, scanning her face for deception. He saw no fear, only urgent calculation. He slowly lowered his hand from his jacket. "Prove it," he breathed. Anya released his wrist and pointed to the nearly invisible seam in the molding. "The panel was removed and replaced yesterday. The adhesive is fresh. Run a signal scanner, or open it and die." Minjun pulled a small device from his pocket, a frequency detector used for debugging electronic eavesdropping. He passed it along the seam. A series of rapid, silent pulses flashed on the screen. Wiring, power source, receiver. His face went pale, then hardened into marble. He stepped back from the door, pulling Anya with him down the hallway, away from the blast radius. In his study, he locked the door and turned to her. "How do you know about Yi? How do you know about the sensor? Anya met his gaze. I listen, I watch, and I'm looking for my sister, Heir Boateng. She worked at the Jade Room. She went missing 6 months ago. Yi signed her paychecks. The revelation hung between them. A caregiver was a forensic accountant hunting a gangster. Minjun sat behind his desk, the jade ring glinting under the lamp. Show me, he said. What followed was a 4-hour dive into the shadow ledger of his own empire. Anya accessed her hidden files, showing him the financial trails she'd mapped. The shell companies, the payments to the hostess agency, the routing of funds to offshore accounts Yi had set up in his own name. She showed him the photo of his ring on Efia's phone. Minjun's anger was a cold, expanding thing. He hadn't known about the shell companies. He hadn't authorized the Russian negotiations that had gone beyond mere talk. He had been building a parallel empire, using Kang Holdings as a front, and the Russian syndicate wasn't just a rival, they were Yi's new partners. The bomb wasn't just a coup, it was the final step in a takeover, clearing the way for Yi to merge the Kang territory with the Russians. Minjun had been so focused on external threats he'd missed the cancer in his own house. Why save me? He asked, his eyes fixed on the financial schematics glowing on his monitor. You could have let it happen. Yi dies in the investigation, you get justice for your sister. Anya shook her head. Yi was leaving, he wouldn't be here. You die, your mother dies. Yi becomes the grieving lieutenant who seizes control with Russian backing. My sister's case vanishes forever in the chaos. I need you alive to get to him. I need you to want him more than I do. A temporary alliance was forged in that study, built on mutually assured destruction. Minjun couldn't expose Anya without admitting his own vulnerability and illegal surveillance. Anya couldn't go to the police without being deported and losing any chance to find Efiya. They had one objective: dismantle Yi and his network without bringing the entire house down. The first step was the bomb. Minjun called in one man, Park, his personal driver and former Special Forces engineer, the only person he trusted with his life. Park arrived at 2 a.m. He examined the wall panel in the East Wing hallway, his tools making no sound. 30 minutes later, he emerged with a compact, military-grade explosive device, disarmed. Pressure plate trigger, Park murmured. Open the door, it completes the circuit. Sophisticated, not local, Russian design. He handed Minjun a small USB drive found taped inside. This was piggybacked on the detonator. On the drive was a single file, a digitally signed transfer of Kang Holdings controlling shares to a Panamanian entity called Vostok Investments, dated for execution upon verification of Minjun's death. Yi wasn't just stealing the organization, he was stealing the legitimate business, the billions in real estate and construction. The discovery set off a silent war within the mansion. Minjun moved Madame Kang to a safe room, telling her only that there was a security threat. He increased the guard detail, but only with men whose families he knew for generations. He and Anya began a nightly ritual in his study, cross-referencing her financial maps with his operational knowledge. They uncovered the extent of the rot. Yi had been siphoning millions for years. He owned 3 luxury clubs, including the Jade Room, through frontmen. He had his own enforcers, a crew of 20 who answered only to him, and he had compromised at least 2 senior officers in the Gangnam police precinct with a combination of blackmail and bribes. This explained why Efia's disappearance was closed so quickly. Anya's hope curdled into a sharp, focused rage. One night, she pushed a highlighted transaction across the desk. This payment. 2 weeks after my sister disappeared, $500,000 to a medical clinic in Itaewon. For what? Minjun was silent for a long time. That clinic doesn't do medicine, he said finally. It's a front for a forensic cleanup crew. They make problems disappear permanently. Anya's hands trembled for the first time. The room felt airless. Minjun saw it. If they use the clinic, he said, his voice uncharacteristically quiet, there won't be a body to find, I'm sorry. The apology from a man like him was a shock. It broke the professional dam. Anya didn't cry. She asked a question, her voice hollow. Why would he kill her? She was a hostess. She was nobody to him. Minjun zoomed in on the transaction logs from that period. She wasn't nobody. Look. He pointed to a series of small, regular transfers from Yi's personal account to an account in Ghana, under the name Kofi Boateng, Anya's father. He was sending money to your family, hush money. Your sister found out something she shouldn't have, and she threatened to expose him unless he paid more. He paid until he decided a permanent solution was cheaper. Anya closed her eyes. Her sister had tried to blackmail a gangster. Brave, foolish Heir. The transaction for the clinic was dated 2 days after the last payment to her father. The timeline was complete. The mystery was solved. Now it was about justice. But justice in Seoul's underworld isn't delivered by courts. It's delivered by power. And Yi still had the upper hand. He knew the bomb had failed when Min-jun didn't die. He went aground, but his moves became aggressively public. First, a fire at a Kang Holdings construction site blamed on negligent management. Then, a leak to a tabloid newspaper about Min-jun's alleged ties to organized crime, complete with blurred photos of his meetings with known gang figures. The pressure was designed to force Min-jun into the open, to make him react emotionally. Min-jun, however, had Anya. Her forensic mind gave him a new weapon, information warfare. She constructed a counter-narrative. Using the same shell company pathways Yi had created, she began a series of transactions that made it appear Yi was embezzling from the Russian partners. She fabricated evidence of Yi planning to double-cross the syndicate. She then anonymously fed this information to a mid-level Russian enforcer, known for his brutal efficiency. The trap sprung within 48 hours. 3 of Yi's top enforcers were found dead in a warehouse in Incheon, their bodies arranged in a manner that signaled a Russian hit. The message was clear. Yi had lost his backing. He was exposed. Desperate, Yi made his final, catastrophic play. He used his police contacts to obtain a warrant for Min-jun's arrest on fabricated charges of attempted murder, the target being Yi himself. At 6 a.m., a squad of Gangnam police officers surrounded the mansion. Min-jun watched from the security room, his face a mask. "He's using the law to finish what the bomb didn't," he said. Anya stood beside him. "Then we use the law back," she replied. She had prepared for this. On an encrypted laptop, she opened a file containing every incriminating piece of evidence against Yi: the financial records, the bomb schematics, the clinic payment, the blackmailed police officers. But she didn't send it to the police. She sent it to the one institution in Korea even the corrupt Gangnam precinct feared: the National Intelligence Service. The covering email was simple: a foreign syndicate is attempting a hostile takeover of a major Korean corporation through assassination and corruption. Attached is the complete dossier on the operative, Jang Yi-hoon, and his network. She hit send as the doorbell rang. The police entered the mansion with a warrant. Min-jun surrendered peacefully, instructing his lawyers to say nothing. As he was led out in handcuffs, he locked eyes with Anya, who stood in the servants' line, her head bowed. A silent instruction passed between them: continue asterisk. The police searched the study, finding nothing. The servers had already been wiped, the physical evidence removed. They left, taking Min-jun to the precinct for processing. Mansion fell into an eerie quiet, but the real battle had just moved to a new front. Yi, believing his victory was complete, emerged from hiding. He went to the mansion that evening to secure the assets in Min-jun's absence. He walked into the main hall, expecting to see cowed staff. Instead, he saw Anya, standing at the foot of the staircase holding a tablet. "The NIS has your file, Yi," she said, her voice echoing in the marble space. "The Russians think you stole from them. The police you own are about to be investigated. You have no allies, no money, and no way out." Yi's face twisted in fury. He pulled a gun. You're just a maid. I'll disappear you like I did your sister." Anya didn't move. "You can try, but you should look at your accounts first, all of them." While Yi was distracted, Park and 2 other loyalists emerged from the shadows, disarming him and forcing him to his knees. Anya approached, the tablet now showing the real-time balance of Yi's offshore accounts, all reading 0. She had spent the afternoon executing the digital heist of a lifetime, using the backdoor access and passwords she'd harvested over months to drain every dollar, every cryptocurrency wallet Yi owned. The money was now scattered across hundreds of anonymous accounts, inaccessible. Yi was financially annihilated. "Where is my sister's body?" Anya asked, her voice deadly calm. Yi spat at her feet. "In the concrete of the new Gangnam Expressway, a permanent fixture." The confirmation was a physical blow, but Anya absorbed it. She nodded to Park. "Call the NIS. Tell them we have Jang Yi-hoon ready for collection, along with a full confession regarding the murder of Heir Boteng, the attempted murder of Kang Min-jun, and corruption of public officials." As Park made the call, Yi looked up at Anya, a broken man. "Who are you?" he whispered. Anya looked down at him, the maid's uniform suddenly seeming like a disguise she was finally shedding. "I'm the accountant." At the police precinct, Min Jun's lawyers were presenting the NIS dossier to the prosecutor, demanding his immediate release and the arrest of the real criminal. The evidence was overwhelming. By midnight, Min Jun was free, and Yi was in a high-security detention cell, facing life imprisonment. The Kang Empire was wounded, but intact. The Russian syndicate, seeing the exposure, retreated from Seoul. The war was over, but in the quiet of the mansion, a new tension settled. Min Jun returned to find Anya packing her suitcase in the servants' quarters. "Where are you going?" he asked, standing in the doorway. "My job is done," she said without looking up. "My sister is found. I have no reason to stay." Min Jun stepped into the small room. "You have a reason. The NIS wants to talk to you. They were impressed by your work. They could use someone with your skills. I could use someone with your skills." Anya finally looked at him. "To do what? Be your personal spy. Clean up your next mess." Min Jun shook his head. "To run the legitimate side, the real businesses. You understand the money better than anyone I've ever met. You just bankrupted a gangster in 6 hours. Imagine what you could do with a clean balance sheet." He was offering her a new life, a powerful one, but it came with strings, with his world, with the memory of the jade ring and all it represented. Anya zipped her suitcase closed. The sound was final. "I didn't do this for a job offer," she said. "I did it for Effia, and I'm done." She picked up her suitcase and walked past him, out the door, down the long hallway. Min Jun didn't follow. He watched her go. But the story doesn't end with a suitcase in a hallway, because 3 days later, as Anya was clearing immigration at Incheon Airport, a uniformed NIS agent approached her. "Miss Boateng, we need your assistance with one final matter. It concerns a discrepancy in Jang Yi-hoon's testimony. He's claiming he had a partner inside the Kang organization, someone higher up, and we believe he's telling the truth." The airport terminal blurred around her. A partner, higher up. The words unraveled every certainty of the last 4 months. Anya followed the NIS agent to a black sedan, her suitcase placed in the trunk not as a courtesy, but as a seizure. They drove not to the sleek NIS headquarters in Neokdong, but to a secure safe house in the wooded outskirts of Seoul. There, Agent Kim, a woman with sharp eyes and a tired demeanor, laid out a file. "Jang Yi-hoon is singing like a bird to avoid the death penalty. He claims the plan to kill Min Jun and take the company wasn't his idea. It was a collaboration with someone inside the mansion who had everything to gain from Min Jun's death, but needed a fall guy to do the dirty work." Anya's mind raced through the staff, the guards, the advisors. Who? Agent Kim slid a photograph across the table. It wasn't a staff member. It was Min Jun's corporate lawyer, Choi Seung-woo, a man in his 50s who had handled the Kang family's legal affairs for 20 years. The man who had drafted Min Jun's will. The man who stood to gain a fortune in executor fees if Min Jun died without a direct heir. "Choi," Anya whispered, incredulous. "He's a paper pusher." Agent Kim shook her head. "He's a paper pusher with a $50 million gambling debt to a Macau syndicate. He was bankrupt. Yi offered to wipe the debt clean if Choi helped him navigate the corporate takeover and ensure the share transfer was legally airtight. Choi provided the access, the documents, the loopholes. He was the inside man." The revelation was a seismic shift. It explained how Yi gained such detailed knowledge of the mansion's security schedules and the legal architecture of Kang Holdings. But as Anya pored over the new evidence with the NIS, a deeper, more horrifying pattern emerged. Choi hadn't just helped with the bomb plot. His fingerprints were on documents dating back 3 years. One document in particular made Anya's blood run cold. A life insurance policy for Min Jun's late father, taken out 6 months before his fatal car accident. The beneficiary was a trust controlled by Choi. The car accident that had killed the old boss and propelled Min Jun to power wasn't an accident. It was a hit, and Min Jun had never known. The lawyer had been playing all sides for a decade, engineering chaos to profit from the aftermath. Agent Kim leaned forward. "This is bigger than gang warfare. This is a sustained financial predation on a criminal enterprise by its own counsel, and we think it goes further back. We need your help to trace every transaction, every shell company Choi ever touched. You built the map on Yi, now build the map on Choi." Anya had no choice. Her visa was now contingent on her cooperation. She was installed in a secure office with NIS systems, given access to financial databases she'd only dreamed of. For 72 hours, she lived on coffee and adrenaline, connecting dots. The picture that emerged was of a vampire in a suit. Choi had been systematically looting the Kang organization for years, setting up conflicts, eliminating rivals, and always positioning himself to collect the pieces. He had orchestrated the rivalry with the Russians by leaking false information, hoping the ensuing war would wipe out both Minjun and Yi, leaving him to pick over the carcass of the empire with his Macau creditors. The bomb was just his latest, most direct attempt. Anya compiled a dossier so damning it guaranteed Choi would spend his life in prison. The NIS prepared to move, but they needed to catch him in the act of accessing the illegal funds. They set a trap. Using Anya's knowledge, they created a fake financial alert, making it appear that one of Choi's hidden offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands was about to be frozen by an international audit. The alert was sent to his private server. They predicted he would panic and try to move the money immediately. We're right. At 2:17 a.m., Choi logged into a secure banking portal from his home office. The NIS cyber team tracked every keystroke. As he initiated a $12 million transfer, Agent Kim gave the order. Armed agents breached his apartment in Hanam-dong. They found him at his computer, frozen in the blue glow of the screen. It was over, or so they thought. During the arrest, Choi, seeing his entire life collapse, decided if he was going down, he wouldn't go down alone. As he was being led away in handcuffs, he looked at Agent Kim and said, "You think I'm the mastermind? I was following orders too. The money wasn't for me. It was for the campaign. Ask your director who really owns the land for the new Gangnam International Finance Center." Then he clammed up, demanding a full immunity deal before saying another word. The statement was a grenade tossed into the heart of the investigation. The campaign could only mean one thing: political campaign financing. The Finance Center was a multi-billion-dollar government-backed project. If Choi was funneling organized crime money to politicians to influence the land rights, then the conspiracy reached into the highest levels of Korean society. The NIS director, upon hearing this, immediately classified the case. Agent Kim was ordered to stand down. All files were to be sealed. Anya was told her work was done, thanked for her service, and strongly encouraged to get on the next flight to Ghana. The clean, just ending she had fought for evaporated. The powerful were closing ranks. Furious and disillusioned, Anya made one last call. To Minjun, she met him at an anonymous cafe in Itaewon. She told him everything about his father's murder, about Choi, about the political black hole that had just swallowed the case. Minjun listened, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he said, "I knew about my father." Anya stared at him. "What? I didn't know it was Choi," Minjun clarified, his voice low. "But I knew it wasn't an accident. I spent 3 years looking for the killer. I never found a trace because I was looking for a gangster, not a lawyer." He stirred his cold coffee. "The campaign money that makes sense. Choi always pushed me to donate to certain politicians, said it was for protection. I thought he meant police protection. He meant protection for himself." Minjun looked at Anya, a new resolve in his eyes. They want to bury this, to protect the rich and the powerful, but they forgot something. They're not the only ones with power. I have a different kind, the kind that operates in the dark they're trying to hide. He leaned forward. "Don't get on that plane. Help me finish this. Not as a caregiver, not as an accountant for the NIS. As a partner, we expose them all. We use the evidence you gathered, and we leak it to the one place they can't control, the public." It was an insane, dangerous proposition. A gang boss and a former maid taking on a political criminal cabal. But the alternative was to let Effie's death, and the deaths of Minjun's father and all the other victims, be erased for convenience. Anya was tired of being told to disappear. She agreed. Their plan was audacious. They would bypass the traditional media, which could be pressured or bought. Instead, they would use a distributed drop, releasing the encrypted files simultaneously to a network of international investigative journalists, independent bloggers, and cryptocurrency activists. Anya spent the next week weaponizing her dossier, anonymizing the data, and writing a plain language summary that connected the dots. From the car accident, to the embezzlement, to the bomb plot, to the flow of money into the campaign coffers of 2 prominent assemblymen. Minjun used his remaining loyal network to secure physical servers outside Korea and arrange for untraceable dissemination. The launch date was set, but 24 hours before the drop they were compromised. Agent Kim, acting on a guilty conscience and a shred of remaining idealism, sent Anya a cryptic warning. "They know they are coming for you. They will use your sister." Minutes later, Anya's phone rang, an unknown number. She answered. A digitally altered voice spoke. Anya Boateng, we have your father. If you release one byte of data, we will send him back to you in pieces. Stand down. Get on the plane. The call ended. She called her father's phone in Accra. No answer. She called her mother. Her mother was hysterical. Men had come to the house. They took her father. They said he would be safe if Anya cooperated. They said they were Korean intelligence. The game had changed utterly. This was no longer about evidence or exposure. It was a naked threat against her family. Minjun saw the despair on her face. We can still move, he urged. I have contacts in Ghana. I can send people. And start a war there? Anya shot back, her voice breaking. No, I'm done. I release the data. My father dies. I lose either way. She was ready to surrender, to burn the files and get on the plane, a hollow shell. But then, at her lowest point, Madame Kang re-entered the story. Minjun had moved her to a secured villa for her safety. He told her everything. The old woman, through a secure video call, demanded to speak to Anya. Her face filled the tablet screen, her eyes burning with the fire Anya had seen only glimpses of before. You listen to me, girl, Madame Kang said, her voice strong, the professor's voice. They are using your love as a weapon. Do you think my son's father wanted me to live my life as a silent, grieving widow? Do you think your sister wanted you to give up? You have the truth. Truth is a weapon they cannot disarm if you fire it. You release the data, you release it now, and you tell the world who took your father. You shine the light so bright they have no shadows to hide in. That is how you save him, not with silence, with noise. It was the permission, the command she needed. Anya looked at Minjun. He nodded. They moved the timetable up. Immediately, they initiated the distribution protocol. At 8 p.m. Seoul time, the Gangnam files exploded across the global internet. The data dump was colossal, undeniable, and meticulously sourced. It trended on every social media platform within the hour. The two assemblermen named in the files held emergency press conferences denying everything, but the digital evidence was too precise. Transaction IDs, bank records, recorded phone calls between Choi and their aides. By midnight, the Korean National Police, under intense public scrutiny, announced it was reopening the investigation into the elder Kang's death and forming a special task force on political corruption. The pressure was immediate and overwhelming. At 2 a.m., Anya's phone rang again. The same unknown number. The altered voice was gone. It was a man speaking clear, unaccented Korean. The package will be delivered to the address in Accra within the hour. You have made a powerful enemy today, Miss Boateng. I suggest you watch your back for the rest of your life. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, her mother called, sobbing with relief. Her father was home, unharmed, shaken. The world had seen. The light had forced their hand. The fallout was swift and brutal. The two assemblermen resigned. The NIS director was placed on administrative leave. Choi, seeing his immunity deal vanish, began implicating everyone in a desperate bid for leniency. The scandal dominated news cycles for weeks. Minjun's organization, now fully exposed, was dismantled by financial regulators. The legitimate businesses sold off, the illicit ones shuttered. He faced charges of his own, but his cooperation and his role in exposing the wider corruption led to a plea deal, a reduced sentence for tax evasion, and a full disgorgement of illegal assets. He would serve time, but in a white-collar facility, and his mother would be cared for. On the day Anya finally boarded her flight to Ghana, Agent Kim met her at the airport. She handed Anya a sealed envelope. From the new director, she said. Inside was a formal letter of commendation and a job offer, a legitimate, above-board position as a financial forensic consultant for an international anti-corruption NGO based in Geneva with full diplomatic visa status. They wanted her skills used for good in the light. Anya took the letter. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She just boarded the plane. As the plane climbed over the Yellow Sea, she looked down at the sprawling city of Seoul, a city of secrets and marble hallways. She had arrived as a ghost seeking a ghost. She was leaving as a woman who had brought a hidden world crashing down. But one question echoed louder than the jet engines, a question posed by the last line of the dossier she'd compiled, a line only she and Minjun understood. The financial trails didn't end with Choi. They branched further, into accounts so deeply hidden they were only referred to by a single code name. The architect, the partner's partner, the true mastermind who had profited from every tragedy, from the death of Minjun's father to the present day, and was still out there, untouched. And the only clue was a series of transactions dated the very week Effia disappeared, payments from the architect to the clinic in Itaewon. The hunt was over for the world. For Anya Boateng, it had just taken on a new, more terrifying shape. 6 months after the Gangnam Files shattered Seoul's political landscape, Anya Boateng sat at a desk in Geneva, Switzerland, tracing a money trail that led back to the day her sister disappeared. She had taken the job with the International Anti-Corruption Foundation. Her office had a view of Lake Geneva, clean lines, and legitimate purpose. She worked on cases involving embezzled aid funds and sanctioned oligarchs. But every night, after her colleagues left, she opened a private server and continued her solo pursuit of the entity known only as the Architect. The Foundation's databases gave her access to global financial networks she could never have reached before. The trail was cold, meticulous, and designed by a genius. Every transaction was routed through a daisy chain of charitable trusts, art foundations, and cryptocurrency mixers. It was the work of a ghost, but ghosts leave echoes. Anya found one, a consistent digital signature in the encryption protocols used to secure the transactions, a unique, repetitive algorithm. She ran it through every analysis tool she had. No matches. Then on a whim, she ran it against a database of academic theses. It matched the work of a doctoral candidate from Seoul National University, submitted 22 years ago. The title, Obfuscation Techniques in Digital Financial Transactions. The author, Kang Yunjai. Madame Kang, the paralyzed professor in the East Wing, the woman who had urged her to fire the truth into the world. Anya felt the floor of her clean, quiet office fall away. She re-examined everything. The car accident that killed Minjun's father and left Yunjai paralyzed, the trust documents, the timely withdrawal of the seizure filing, the fact that Yunjai, the sharpest mind in the mansion, had never been targeted by Yi or Choi for actual harm, only for silence and isolation. They feared her, but they never tried to kill her because she was their source. She was the architect, the mastermind who had been pulling the strings of her own son's empire and its predators from her wheelchair. The ultimate long game. Anya booked a flight to Seoul. She did not call Minjun. She went directly to the high-security rehabilitation facility where Madame Kang now resided, a luxurious institution paid for by the remains of the Kang family fortune, now under the control of a court-appointed conservator. The old woman was in a sunlit therapy room, working on a tablet, her braids neat, her glasses perched on her nose. She looked up as Anya entered, and a small, genuine smile touched her lips. "I wondered when you would come," she said, her professor's voice calm. "The algorithm, you found the thesis. I left it as a breadcrumb. I knew only you would follow it." Anya stood, her heart pounding. "Why?" she asked, the single word holding a universe of betrayal. Yunjai gestured to the chair beside her. "Sit. Let an old woman tell you a story about a brilliant professor who married a gangster for love and then watched him become a monster. A man who used his power to crush rivals, yes, but also to crush the spirits of everyone around him, including his son. My son was being molded in his image. I tried to stop it. I failed. So I engineered a better monster," she explained with chilling clarity. She had orchestrated her husband's death by subtly manipulating his enemies, using Choi as an unwitting pawn. The accident left her paralyzed, but it freed her son to take over. She believed Minjun, without his father's shadow, could be steered toward legitimacy. But he was weak, easily influenced by men like Yi. So she engineered their downfall too. She fed information to Choi about Yi's ambitions, knowing it would lead to conflict. She subtly guided Anya's attention to key pieces of evidence. She was the anonymous source who had tipped off the NIS about Yi's partner, knowing it would lead back to Choi and then to the politicians. She had used Anya as her scalpel and Anya's quest for justice as her motivation to surgically remove the corruption from her son's life and from the organization so that what remained could be handed over to the state and dissolved. "My son is in prison, but he is alive, and he is no longer a kingpin. He is a reformed man who will get out and lead a clean life. I sacrificed my body, my reputation, and my relationship with my son to save him from himself, and I used you to do it. I am sorry, Anya, but I am not regretful." Anya was silent, absorbing the magnitude of the manipulation. "My sister," she said finally, "did you know about Effia?" Yunjai's face softened, and for the first time she looked her age. "I did not orchestrate that. That was Yi's brutality. But when I learned of it, when I saw you arrive, I saw an opportunity, a weapon of pure motive. I guided you to the truth. I could not bring your sister back, but I could give you the power to burn down the world that allowed it to happen, and you did." She reached out a trembling hand. "You were never my tool, you were my ally, my fellow strategist, the daughter I wish I had." The confession left Anya unmoored. The woman she had fought for, the woman she had seen as a fellow victim, was the puppet master. Yet the result was the same. Yi was in prison for life, Choi was facing multiple life sentences, corrupt politicians were ousted, and Min-jun was on a path to redemption. Her sister's killer was brought to justice. The ends were just, but the means were a labyrinth of lies. She had to decide what to do with the truth. Exposing Yunjai would achieve nothing but destroying an old woman and reopening wounds for Min-jun. It would be an act of pure vengeance. Anya thought of her grandmother's words, the same ones that had guided her in the hallway. "You have strong hands, use them to hold people up." Holding people up sometimes meant carrying the weight of difficult truths alone. She visited Min-jun in the white-collar prison. He looked thinner, calmer. They spoke through glass. She told him she knew about his mother's role. He listened, and to her surprise, he nodded slowly. "I know," he said. "She wrote me a letter. She explained everything. I hated her for a week. Then I realized she was right. I was a weak man playing a strong man's game. She sacrificed everything to make me a better one, even if it meant I had to fall to get here." He looked at Anya with a respect that transcended their strange history. "What will you do?" Anya met his gaze. "Nothing. The story ends here. The architect is a ghost, and ghosts should stay buried." Min-jun nodded. "Thank you." Then he added, "The offer still stands. When I get out, the legitimate ventures, what's left of them, could use a director of financial integrity." Anya almost smiled. "We'll see." She returned to Geneva. She did not file a report on Kang Yunjai. She closed the private server. She focused on her work, chasing other ghosts in other countries. But one Tuesday evening, a package arrived at her apartment. No return address. Inside was a first-edition copy of Chinua Acheb's Things Fall Apart, and a handwritten note on elegant stationery. "For my favorite fellow reader, some stories are messy, but the brave ones are worth telling." Why enclosed was a key to a safety deposit box in a Zurich bank. Out of curiosity, Anya went. Inside the box was a single sheet of paper. It was the deed to a small freehold property in Accra, in a quiet neighborhood, paid in full. A home for her family, with no strings attached. And a second note: a queen should have a castle, even if she chooses to live in Geneva. Why? The final surprise was not in the gift, but in the timing. As Anya held the deed, her phone buzzed with a news alert. Kang Yunjai, the former professor and widow of a notorious gangster, had passed away peacefully in her sleep at the rehabilitation facility. The article spoke of her academic legacy, her tragic accident, and her quiet later years. There was no mention of shell companies or secret algorithms. The ghost had chosen her moment to depart, her work complete, her last gift delivered. Anya framed the deed and hung it in her Geneva apartment. It hung beside a photo of her sister, Effia, smiling and alive. Below it, on a small shelf, sat the first edition of Things Fall Apart. Some stories do fall apart, so better ones can be built from the pieces. The door in the hallway had been rigged to blow. A hand had reached out to stop it. That hand set off a chain reaction that toppled empires, exposed corruptions, and freed a son from his own legacy. It also led a woman home, not to Ghana, but to herself. She arrived in Seoul as a seeker of answers, wearing a disguise. She left as a woman who had learned the most dangerous truth of all, that sometimes the person who saves you is also the one who has been pulling the strings, and redemption is not a straight path, but a maze with a single, undeniable exit. The truth, however messy, however painful, however beautifully, devastatingly complicated. So what is the true story of the maid and the mafia boss? It's not a story about crime. It's a story about architecture, the architecture of power, and the invisible beams and buttresses that hold it up, and the single point of pressure that can make it all collapse. We look at a marble mansion and see strength. We look at a uniform and see servitude. But history is written by those who understand that true power isn't about who stands in the spotlight, but who holds the blueprint. Anya Boateng entered that mansion as a seeker. She became a weapon, then a strategist, and finally, a witness to the uncomfortable truth that justice and manipulation can sometimes wear the same face. She learned that the world is built on stories within stories, and the most dangerous narrator is the one who convinces you they're not telling a story at all. And what of the hallway, that frozen moment of a hand on a wrist? It was the detonator for everything that followed, but it was also a mirror. In that instant, two people from worlds that should never have touched saw each other clearly, not as boss and maid, but as human beings caught in a machine built by someone else. That recognition changed everything. We live in a world of hallways, corridors of power, of finance, of social media, of our own daily lives. And the lesson of this story is simple yet profound. The person you overlook, the story you dismiss, the background figure you assume is just part of the scenery, they are often the one holding the key to the door you're trying to open or the warning about the trap you're about to spring. Sometimes they are even the architect of the maze. So the next time you walk down a familiar hallway, literal or metaphorical, pause, look at the people in the background, listen to the stories that aren't being shouted, because the most explosive truths are never in the center of the room. They're in the margins, waiting for someone with strong hands and the courage to use them to bring them into the light. If you found this journey through shadows and secrets compelling, make sure you're subscribed. We delve deep into the untold stories, the hidden architectures of power, and the people who change the world from the edges. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. Until next time, stay curious and remember, look beyond the door. Always look beyond the door.